the stroke of 6, my pussy goes mad.
First premiered in 1972, Are You Being Served? Quickly became one of the iconic sitcoms of British television. Set in the Grace Brothers department store, the show made a strong impression on audiences with its bold humour, absurd situations, and unique characters such as the charming Mr. Humphries, the quirky Mrs. Slocum, and the stern Captain Peacock. Not only did it bring laughter, but this sitcom also deeply reflected the culture and society of England during that time, helping it overcome all barriers to win over a global audience. However, behind that resounding success are countless fascinating, surprising, and sometimes bizarre behind-the-scenes stories. From controversies over too bold content to risky production decisions, these all contributed to the enduring appeal of the show. Let's uncover the little-known secrets of this legendary work. 20. The first episode was almost erased forever. Are You Being Served? The legendary British sitcom almost never aired. The pilot episode, which had been pre-recorded, was shelved in the BBC archives because no one in the management team believed it would succeed. But then, a shocking event occurred. The 1972 Munich Olympics were disrupted by a terrorist attack, throwing the BBC's broadcast schedule into complete disarray. In a frantic search for content to fill the gaps, they decided to air the pilot of Are You Being Served? As a last-minute fix. And then, the unexpected happened. Viewers were immediately drawn in by the unique setting of the Grace Brothers department store and the clever exaggeration of its humorous characters. The pilot quickly became a hit, prompting BBC executives to sit down, re-evaluate, and completely change their minds. The result? The show was greenlit for a full first season. Just imagine, if it hadn't been for the incident in Munich, Are You Being Served? Might have been shelved forever, and the world might never have heard iconic lines like, Are you free? Or experienced its brilliant satirical comedy. It's fascinating to think that one of television's most legendary sitcoms was born out of sheer coincidence. 19. BBC once rejected the show. Can you believe it? Are You Being Served? Was once harshly criticised by the BBC to the point where it almost wasn't produced. When the script was submitted, network executives outright rejected it, deeming it outdated. The department store setting, with its old-fashioned rules and outdated staff systems, was considered boring and irrelevant to modern times. Additionally, the postcard humour style, full of sexually suggestive jokes, was seen as inappropriate for 1970s audiences. Some even remarked, "This show is nothing but a throwback to the past." The creative team was engulfed in disappointment as the script was passed from one department to another, with no one willing to take responsibility. But then, the very pilot they had criticised was aired due to the Munich incident and immediately captured the audience's attention. Overnight, the executives who had initially rejected the show did a complete 180 and praised it as one of Britain's boldest and funniest sitcoms. Life truly is unpredictable. What do you think? Do you believe those who once doubted the show deserved the credit they later gave it? 18. Cast changes that made fans furious. Not everyone knows that the cast of Are You Being Served underwent several controversial changes. The first was the departure of Larry Martin, who played Mr. Mash, the janitor with a cheeky comedic style beloved by the audience. Arthur English was brought in to replace him as Mr. Harmon, but his gentler humour couldn't match the uniqueness of Mr. Mash. Next came an even bigger shock. Arthur Brough, who played Mr. Granger, left the show after the death of his wife. Instead of finding another actor to replace him, the producers left the position vacant, creating a gap that viewers found unsettling. But the most disappointing change was the replacement of Trevor Bannister, who played Mr. Lucas, with Mike Berry. While Berry was a popular pop singer at the time, his new character couldn't recreate Lucas's charm, a combination of wit, humour, and charisma. The changes didn't stop there. Young Mr. Grace, a character full of energy and quirky humour, was replaced by old Mr. Grace. Unfortunately, this change wasn't well received by the audience. These casting adjustments not only frustrated fans, but also weakened the chemistry among the characters. 17. The sequel was a complete failure. Did you know that Are You Being Served had a sequel, and it was such a failure that many people don't even know it existed? After the original series ended in 1985, the BBC decided to produce a sequel titled Grace and Favour, also known as Are You Being Served? Again, everyone assumed this would be a gift for loyal fans, but the reality was a major disappointment. This time, the story took the main characters to the countryside, where they managed a bed and breakfast. Although the familiar cast remained, the new setting couldn't recreate the chaos and hustle of the Grace Brothers department store. The jokes became dull and uninspired, and the show's atmosphere felt more like a nostalgic reunion than an actual sitcom. Viewers couldn't revive the humour and vibrancy of the original series, and Grace and Favour quickly lost its appeal. After 2 seasons, the show was cancelled, leaving behind an important lesson. Sometimes, it's better to end things at the peak. 16. Grace Brothers was based on a real store. Grace Brothers, the legendary department store in the show, was actually inspired by a real-life store, Simpsons of Piccadilly. Co-creator Jeremy Lloyd worked there when he was younger and brought all his personal experiences into the show, from the layout of the floors, the public address system, to the quirky characters among the staff. Everything was almost directly copied from Simpsons. The stern managers, the crafty sales staff, and the nonsensical rules were a perfect reflection of the British retail industry at the time. Interestingly, this setting not only made the show stand out, but also made it incredibly relatable for viewers. For many, Are You Being Served? Wasn't just a sitcom, but a vivid slice of 1970s British society. 15. Mrs. Slocum's hair, a show within a show. Did you know that Mrs. Slocum's hair wasn't just a minor detail, but one of the most distinctive features of Are You Being Served? In every episode, she appeared with a different hair colour: purple, blue, pink, orange, even silver. Interestingly, this wasn't an idea from the writers, but came from Molly Sugden herself, the actress who played Mrs. Slocum. Sugden wanted her character to appear larger than life and create a contrast between her eccentric appearance and conservative personality. This idea not only made Mrs. Slocum stand out, but turned her into a comedy icon. The BBC makeup team even had to custom make wigs and research hair dyeing techniques to support her hair show. Amazingly, viewers loved Mrs. Slocum, not just for her humour, but also for her endlessly creative look. Every time she appeared, audiences wondered, what hair colour will she have today, Mrs. Slocum's hair wasn't just a funny detail. It became an essential part of the show's unique style. So, what's your favourite Mrs. Slocum hair colour? Comment below the video to see if we agree. 14. Mr. Humphries, a comedy icon or our mystery of gender? Mr. Humphries wasn't just a funny character. He became a cultural icon of his time, but few people know that initially this character wasn't written the way we know him. In the original script, Mr. Humphries was merely described as a young, art-loving employee. However, actor John Inman completely transformed the character by adding exaggerated mannerisms, a camp style, and a cleverly charming persona. What's particularly interesting is that Mr. Humphries' sexuality was always left as a big question mark. Although the character often displayed suggestive actions and delivered innuendo-filled lines, the production team kept everything ambiguous. "He's just very friendly," was all they said about Humphries. This deliberate vagueness made the character approachable and acceptable, even for conservative families. John Inman's outstanding performance as Mr. Humphries not only brought endless laughter, but also sparked fascinating cultural conversations. What do you think? Was this ambiguity the key to the character's iconic status? 13. Risque jokes that gave the BBC a headache. Are You Being Served? was not only famous for its clever comedy, but also for the controversies surrounding its too bold content. Many lines, such as Mrs. Slocombe's "My pussy" remarks or Mr. Humphries' exaggerated antics, were considered inappropriate for family-friendly TV slots. Conservative viewers sent countless complaints to the BBC, calling the show vulgar and offensive. Some critics even mocked the show, claiming it had gone beyond the limits of humour. Ironically, these controversies only brought more attention to Are You Being Served? Curious viewers flocked to watch the show to judge for themselves, and as a result, it became one of the BBC's most watched sitcoms. Despite the criticism, the production team defended the show, stating, "It's just harmless comedy, rooted in British theatrical traditions." This proved that sometimes boldness is the key to winning over audiences. 12. Unexpected success in over 50 countries. How did a very British sitcom like Are You Being Served manage to conquer audiences worldwide? The show was broadcast in over 50 countries, including the USA, Australia, and Canada. Surprisingly, despite cultural differences, international audiences were captivated by the show's unique humour. In Australia, Are You Being Served was aired during prime time and became a favourite among millions of viewers. Meanwhile, in the USA, it was shown late at night on public television and quickly developed a loyal fan base. Though deeply rooted in British humour, the show's stories and characters managed to speak the same language to audiences around the world. Additionally, the success of the show paved the way for other British sitcoms, like Keeping Up Appearances and Fawlty Towers, to reach global audiences. Are You Being Served wasn't just a programme, it was a cultural phenomenon that helped put British comedy on the international map. 11. Famous cast, but not wealthy. You might think the cast of Are You Being Served became rich from the global fame of the show. Wrong! At the time, the BBC had no policy for paying royalties for international broadcasts, meaning actors like John Inman, Molly Sugden, and Frank Thornton were only paid per episode. Even though the show aired in over 50 countries, they didn't earn a penny from international revenue. To make ends meet, many actors had to find additional work outside of filming. Some returned to the stage, others did commercials or participated in small projects. Even though they became familiar faces worldwide, their lives were far from luxurious, as many might assume. It's hard to believe that the people who brought laughter to millions didn't fully benefit from the show's success. 10. The mysterious but memorable voice on the PA system. Have you ever noticed the voice on Grace Brothers' public address system? Announcements like, "The store will close in 5 minutes," or "Mr. Humphries, measure the customer's inside leg," became an unforgettable part of the show. But do you know who the voice belonged to? Surprisingly, it was Stephanie Gathercole, a BBC sound technician. Although her voice was featured throughout the series, she was never credited on screen. Her dry, sarcastic delivery, recorded in a studio after filming, turned otherwise mundane announcements into a subtle layer of comedy that defined Are You Being Served? It's unfortunate that Stephanie Gathercole remains one of the unsung heroes behind the show's success. Years later, her contributions were finally recognised in behind-the-scenes documentaries. Do you think the PA voice was an essential part of the show? 9. Comedy style inspired by British theatre. Why does Are You Being Served have such a unique comedic style? The answer lies in its heavy influence from traditional British theatre, specifically British music hall comedy. This style often features innuendos, exaggerated situations, and the archetypal characters. You can clearly see this influence in how the characters are defined. Mrs. Slocombe is the stern yet quirky older woman. Mr. Humphries is the charming, flamboyant salesman, and Mr. Lucas is the cheeky young man constantly teasing his colleagues. All these roles are based on familiar, comedic archetypes from British theatre. This style not only brought laughter, but also made the show feel relatable, especially to older audiences already familiar with this type of humour. 8. Some episodes were censored in certain countries. Not every episode of Are You Being Served was aired uncut in every country. In some places, with stricter censorship standards, certain scenes were edited or even banned due to content deemed inappropriate. The main reasons often revolved around sexual innuendos or scenes considered too bold. For example, Mrs. Slocum's jokes about her pussy or Mr. Humphries' exaggerated gestures were frequently deemed unsuitable for family audiences in some regions. However, this censorship didn't diminish the show's appeal. On the contrary, many viewers became even more curious and sought out uncensored versions to fully enjoy the content. 7. Actors had to work additional jobs to make ends meet. The cast of Are You Being Served might have been famous, but that didn't mean they were financially secure. In those days, the BBC's per-episode pay wasn't enough for actors to live comfortably, especially since they didn't receive royalties from international broadcasts. To supplement their income, many cast members took on extra work outside the show. John Inman often performed in stage productions and events, while Molly Sugden appeared in commercials and other TV shows. Some actors even agreed to perform at fairs or small entertainment venues to earn extra money. This highlights how, despite bringing joy to millions, the actors' lives behind the camera were far from glamorous. 6. The store setting reflected real 1970s British society. Grace Brothers wasn't just a humorous backdrop, it was also a realistic reflection of British society in the 1970s. This was a time when large department stores, once symbols of prosperity, were beginning to decline under the pressure of more modern retail formats. Grace Brothers was designed as a representation of this aging model. From rigid management systems to outdated staff and absurd rules, viewers at the time couldn't help but notice the similarities between Grace Brothers and the real-life stores they visited. This made Are You Being Served not just entertaining, but also a sharp social commentary. 5. Mrs. Slocum, an accidental central character. Although the show had many standout characters, Mrs. Slocum was often mistaken for the main character. With her eccentric personality, iconic one-liners, and ever-changing hair colour, she commanded attention every time she appeared on screen. Many viewers even believed that she was the centre of the show, rather than Captain Peacock or Mr. Humphries. This isn't surprising, as Molly Sugden's performance was so brilliant that her character became synonymous with Are You Being Served? In reality, the show didn't have a single main character. Each cast member played an equally important role, creating a perfect balance in the storytelling. 4. Many episodes were filmed in front of a live audience. Did you know that the laughter in Are You Being Served wasn't pre-recorded? That's right. Many scenes in the show were filmed live in front of a studio audience. This not only added authenticity, but also gave the actors a unique energy. They could immediately sense the audience's reactions and adjust their performances to deliver peak comedic moments. Filming in front of a live audience was a significant challenge, as it left no room for mistakes. Every scene required precise execution, from acting to dialogue delivery, as the cast was performing not just for the cameras, but also for the live viewers in the studio. However, this interaction brought the show to life, making each episode feel like a small, theatrical performance. The audience's laughter wasn't just background noise, it became an integral part of the viewing experience. It made viewers at home feel as though they were part of the live recording, adding to the charm of the show. 3. The costumes were all real clothing. The costumes in Are You Being Served weren't just props. They were real clothes rented from actual department stores in London. The production team wanted to ensure maximum authenticity, so they sourced the outfits from renowned stores like Simpsons of Piccadilly. This means that the suits worn by Captain Peacock or the flamboyant dresses of Mrs. Slocum were once part of real retail stock. Some of the costumes even had a very everyday look, making the characters more relatable to the audience. However, using real clothes came with its challenges, as the cast had to be extremely careful not to damage or stain the outfits during filming. These costumes didn't just serve as wardrobe, they played a critical role in shaping each character's personality. For instance, Captain Peacock's polished suits symbolised his self-importance, while Mrs. Slocum's colourful dresses reflected her eccentricity. 2. Are You Being Served? Was adapted into a comic strip. Are You Being Served? Wasn't just a television hit, it was also adapted into a comic strip which appeared in popular British magazines like Lookin'. The comic strips focused on the same humorous antics at Grace Brothers, featuring beloved characters like Mr. Humphries, Mrs. Slocum, and Captain Peacock. The colourful and simplistic art style captured the essence of the show, from its suggestive jokes to its laugh-out-loud scenarios. Although the comic strips didn't achieve the same level of fame as the TV series, they remain a fascinating part of the show's legacy. This adaptation was also a way for the show to reach younger audiences who might not have been watching the sitcom but could enjoy its stories in comic form. 1. Some scenes were cut in international broadcasts. Not all episodes of Are You Being Served aired in their entirety across different countries. In some regions, stricter censorship standards led to certain scenes being edited or even entire episodes being banned due to their inappropriate content. The most common reasons for censorship were sexually suggestive jokes or over-the-top comedic gestures. For instance, Mrs. Slocum's infamous jokes about her pussy and Mr. Humphries' flamboyant behaviour were often deemed unsuitable for family audiences in conservative countries. However, this censorship didn't diminish the show's popularity. On the contrary, it piqued the curiosity of many viewers who sought out uncensored versions to fully enjoy the original content.